Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're tackling a pretty interesting piece. It's called Your Body is Your Resume, the billion-dollar advantage of looking dangerous.
Yeah, quite a title.
Right. So we've got this excerpt, and our mission, really, is to unpack what the author's getting at, this core idea that your physical appearance, well, it sends a message.
And specifically, this idea of looking dangerous, having some kind of advantage.
Exactly. Now, it sounds maybe a bit controversial, so just to be clear, we're purely exploring the ideas in the text here, staying objective.
Absolutely. So the central metaphor he uses is, your body is your first business card. What does that really mean, according to the source?
Well, it's this idea that before you even say a word, your physical self is communicating. It's making an impression.
A kind of nonverbal introduction.
Precisely. And this whole looking dangerous concept, he's quick to clarify it's not about, actual aggression or being threatening.
No, it seems to be more about projecting. Well, discipline, dominance maybe, a certain presence.
Yeah. Presence is a good word. It's like communicating capability and self-control without having to spell it out.
And he links this image to some pretty tangible benefits across different areas of life, like in business.
Right. In business, the suggestion is that someone who appears physically disciplined is sort of subconsciously perceived as more trustworthy.
Like they can handle pressure, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. As if the physique itself is a kind of testament to their reliability, their ability to follow through.
It's interesting, isn't it? The underlying assumption there that we automatically connect physical discipline with mental traits like competence or resilience.
Definitely. The author's banking on that initial visual cue, triggering those positive assumptions about your capabilities.
And what about relationships? How does he see it playing out there?
Similar idea, really. He argues it translates into a sort of quiet confidence. Like if you take care of yourself physically, you don't need to brag or posture verbally.
The present speaks for itself.
And then there's the internal aspect, too. The author suggests your own physical state reinforces a mindset.
A reminder of perseverance.
Yeah, like looking in the mirror and seeing evidence that you could push through difficulty. That I don't quit idea reflected back.
Okay, so here's where he draws that contrast, right, between this disciplined image and what he calls the soft modern world.
Yes. He positions physical discipline, and he uses this phrase, stacking reps, stacking pain, stacking power, as something that really makes you stand out.
So it's a signal to the world that you can handle hardship, delay gratification.
That seems to be the core of it. It's about showing, not just telling, that you have grit and, mental toughness. The body becomes the billboard for that.
And this leads directly to respect, doesn't it? Both from other people.
And maybe more importantly, self-respect. He paints this picture of someone physically capable just commanding respect differently by their sheer presence.
It's framed as a competitive advantage. Beyond just being smart or working hard, this physical presence gives you an edge.
Right. The argument is basically, you look the part, people take you more seriously. And maybe you take yourself more seriously, too.
Which probably feeds back into performance and self-belief. A cycle.
Makes sense. So the author's message, when you boil it down, is pretty direct. He's basically asking, what does a body that looks soft, lazy, and neglected communicate?
And pushing for action, like lifting weights, eating with purpose, moving intentionally, all aimed at crafting that advantageous image.
And again, just to stress, we're laying out the author's argument here, exploring his perspective presented in the text.
Exactly. So the key takeaway from the source is really this: the body as a potent form of nonverbal communication.
One that carries, at least in this view, significant perceived benefits tied to discipline, resilience, and capability.
Yeah. It's quite a focused viewpoint on how physicality is interpreted.
So maybe a final thought for our listeners, drawing from this piece. What message is your own first business card, your physical presence, sending out there?
And how does that message align, or maybe not align, with your goals, personal or professional?
It's definitely a perspective worth considering, even if it's just one way of looking at things among many. Food for thought.